Alright, what's going on, guys? This is a match on Underground, and today we're going to talk about something a little more advanced. I showed you guys this during Black Ops. I came out with a video called Manipulating Spawns. Basically, it's just showing you how you can potentially manipulate spawn points into your favor. You can actually funnel the enemy team into a certain area, not just from spawn trapping, but you can actually use your character, or you can use your teammates and whoever is in the spawn points or whatnot to funnel them in a certain direction. You can also use equipment to do this. Things like claymores. You can put claymores into spawn points to prevent them from spawning there. You can use portable radars. You can use, tactical insertions and whatnot. But keep this in mind. Just because you put a piece of equipment into a spawn point does not prevent the enemy from spawning there. The game kind of gives like some... the word I'm looking for. The game gives some priority. There you go, priority. The game gives priority to enemies in the opposing team's spawn. So, for example, if I put a claymore down in one of their spawn points, for the time being, assuming no one pushes forward and goes stands in the enemy's other spawn points, they're not going to spawn there whatsoever. However, if I were to run in and all of a sudden I'm standing in all of their other spawn points, potentially it is possible for them to spawn on top of that equipment. I don't think they'll spawn into a claymore, or I think because of the spawn protection it actually wouldn't matter either. The claymore wouldn't kill the guy, but I've done things like put portable radars down. They wouldn't spawn there at all. The minute I brushed in and I stood in one of the other spawn points that the enemies have, then they would spawn and I'd see them pop up on the radar. So I know it does happen. But when it gets to that point in the video, I'll be sure to let you guys know. But this particular gameplay, I'm using my MK14. I have a red dot, and it's really good on this map. I consider this a rushing map. It's best with submachine guns, things like PP90 with rapid fire. Go absolutely ham on this map. You go beast mode every time if you're using the PP90. It's really easy just to run around with steady aim and hip fire the whole game because everything is real tight, close quarters. But one of the key areas of this map that I find is the B domination. I explained that in classes in session. You have to have control over this area, which is why I stay here in almost every gameplay that I play on Underground. It's so crucial to hold this area. You really can't afford to leave whatsoever, especially against a good team. A good team is just going to be all over it. You can forget about winning against a good team if you don't ever come on this side of the map. But yeah, man, B-Dom has a lot of long lines of sight, so I like to use a long-range assault rifle. It's very simple. You might notice what I'm doing right here. I'm actually running back into this back spawn point because this is where the spawn flips to when it does flip, usually. So what I'm doing is I go there and I stand in the spawn points. Well, not the actual physical spawn point this time because I didn't want to be obvious out in the open because I wanted to get my other kill streaks here by calling in my Reaper, so I didn't do it. But I was close enough to the spawn point where it would prevent them from spawning behind me. So you notice what it's doing is it's keeping them off of that back staircase, which is where everybody likes to camp at. It's hard to hit people with kill streaks when they're back there. So I went there, called in my Reaper, was able to get a couple kills. Had a really good AC-130 because now they're spawning out in the open by C-Dom. And as my team pushed forward towards C-Dom, it pushed them into that side building. But it didn't ever flip the spawn behind me. So that was real critical in me being able to get a couple good kills on a map that's not really good for kill streaks. But right here, I want to call in this Osprey Gunner, but I'm getting cock-blocked by this tac chopper in the air. And I think someone eventually does flip right here. The spawn, I mean. I think, is he back here somewhere? Huh. Okay, never mind. I think it's after the Osprey Gunner that happened. So I ended up calling this thing in. It's the first time I watched this video since I got the gameplay. But calling the Osprey Gunner, I ended up getting shot down. It was kind of worthless, but it does its job. It suppresses the enemy. That's what these kill streaks are good for. You get 2 or 3 kills. It makes the enemy move out of their camping spots out by the flags, and they're forced to run indoors or they're gonna die. And it does its job. We're able to 3-cap. I'm over here by the A flag. I'm thinking perfect. My team's at C. We got a couple guys at B. I'm by A. This is exactly what I want. So you notice that guy. I don't know if he spawned on the staircase right here because I didn't have any equipment down. It was just myself. I don't know if he spawned upstairs or downstairs, but it doesn't really matter. I'm in the vicinity here and really able to pick people off with my perfect gun for the perfect engagement weapon. And what I'm doing right now is I'm blocking the spawn point. I know that it's a really active spawn point here when it's flipped, so like I said, it's exactly what I'm doing. Just moving back and forward. When you're in this position, usually where they'll spawn is they're gonna spawn in the side building above me right here towards the C flag. If my enemies push forward, they're gonna spawn in the room right next to the A flag, which is where they popped up at right now. And I got jumped by like 3 guys, but I'm not worried about it. You know, it's at least I got my kill streak. So at this point, I decided to make my way back over there. And the reason is when I know that they're spawning towards A, I want to prevent them from being in that back tunnel at all costs. Because when you give them the back tunnel, you're actually giving them that bottom hallway, which leaks almost halfway to the C flag. And I just don't want them down there because that means they're going to be spawning on top, they're going to be spawning on the bottom, and there's just too many enemies in one particular area. So I want to keep them localized to one particular area. So check out what I do. Bam. Claymore in the spawn point. That's going to prevent them from popping up there. So what that allows me to do at this point is now I don't have to stand in that spawn point. I can actually run forward. I can push into the enemy spawn. See, I know they're over here somewhere. I'm constantly looking around. I get lucky. My teammate caught that guy while I was turning the corner. And I'm pushing up. Now, pay attention to what ends up happening right here. See, we're all pushed into the spawn. At this point, normally, you guys know they'll spawn on that back staircase. Not the case. Because I had that down, look where they popped up at. Right there in the corner, right here by C flag. That's not a common spawn point whatsoever. And I told you guys that in class and session, you know, for this map on the spawn video. I said, that's not a common spawn point. But this is one of the cases where, you know, it did happen to activate it. But this is the end of this gameplay. Went 30 something and 1. So I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it helps. Peace.